Hey there, just before we begin our episode on Elaine May, I wanted to quickly just highlight a cause that we touch upon in today's episode with Natalie. Due to the pandemic, there's been a huge disruption in arts and theatre industry in the UK. From March, all theatres have been closed indefinitely, and there seems to be no real idea when things are going to be able to get back to any relative normal. So I'd really like to take a moment to highlight two charities whose tireless work have been helping to support the theatre business through this difficult time and, hopefully helping to keep the arts alive in the UK. The first is the Theatre Artists Fund, who provide emergency support for theatre workers and freelancers across the UK. They can be found at theatreartists.fund. That's theatreartists.fund. And there's also the Theatre Support Fund, who are trying to support industry, in particular backstage staff, through this time in London's West End. And they can be found at theatresupportfund.co.uk. That's theatresupportfund.co.uk. If you're able to provide any support, it would mean a lot to those working in the arts at this time. Now on to the show.
Please note, for maximum picture quality, it may be necessary to adjust the tracking control on your VCR.
What's better than a night out in the town with your bestie? Loads of laughs, getting a hotel room, load up on prees, doing some drugs, head to the bar, you get your glass of milk with your beer, then to the club, end up in a fight over a girl, you get the night bus home, cut for the cemetery, meet your girlfriend before heading out back to the wives. It's just a normal night out, isn't it? This is Adjust Your Tracking, a podcast, so we're on a venture to watch a century of cinema, decade by decade, year by year, and I'm one half of your host, Liam Delaney, and he is...
Oliver Jones.
Hey, how are you doing, Oliver Jones?
I'm good. I'm still knee deep in plasticine though. I'm finding it everywhere. It's all in between my fingernails and finding it in my food, and it's brilliant.
And your toes.
Yeah, in my toes.
Your toes. What
You're
anniversary was plasticine? Did you remember that?
I don't think.
You didn't look it up?
It's number 69. I don't know.
Oh, there we go. The Bill and Ted joke. But also, we got a special guest here today, today. Hi, Natalie. It's
Hi.
Natalie Gardner.
Hello. Hi, guys. Thanks for having me on.
How you doing?
Yeah, good. Really good. Thank you. Yeah, not bad.
Enjoying lockdown. That's the main thing.
Yeah. Oh, having a ball. No, it's been an interesting time, hasn't it? But as I was just saying before, Liam, about how for some people it's been really, really busy, the busiest time of their jobs, and they're working really, really hard. And then you've got people like me who not doing very much at all. but yeah, so no, I've been fine. I've been having a nice time with my new cat, Eden. So
wow.
Yeah. So he's been a recent addition to my family. And yeah, he keeps me on my toes. He's a very loud Siamese boy. And,
oh my god, yes, Siamese cats are so noisy.
Yeah, he is. He shouts at me quite a lot. If I don't feed him exactly on time, he starts shouting at me, literally shouting at me.
Cats seem to know exactly what time things are. Do you know what I mean? They've got like this sense of just, unless they can read the time, and they just don't tell us. And
they're so clever. Yeah, they're so clever. I wouldn't be surprised. I was never really a cat person growing up because we had a dog when I was little. So, but being in London and there's not a lot of space for a dog, so I thought, well, I'll get a cat, and I've sort of wanted one for ages now, and then I got the opportunity, and he's just amazing. He's just so clever. I never would have thought they were that clever.
I am so desperate to get a pet. Like, my last place told me that I wasn't allowed pets at all, and then we moved. We're coming up a year now, I guess. And they were also like, no, not really. but I think we can kind of wrangle them. So I'm waiting to be here like for a year and be shown that I'm a good person, and they might convince them to let me have a cat or something. So I'm just desperate.
So you'd go for a cat?
Right, I'd love a dog. I would absolutely love a dog, but it's hard with work, really.
It's a big responsibility.
You don't fancy rats again?
No.
Did you have rats? Oh, I didn't know you had a rat. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, I kept rats. Was it the last year of uni I got a pair of rats, I think.
They lasted. You had them for quite a while, though.
Yeah, I had them quite well. They're really cool. They're really smart, actually, and and you can train them and everything like that and stuff. And they're really clean and not that smelly.
Oh, I
Yeah.
disagree with the smelly.
No, they're not compared to like other rodents. They're not that smelly.
Are they affectionate? Do you get quite a lot back?
Yeah.
That's really nice.
There was one of them was much more affectionate than the other one. Say that. One of them didn't really like humans at all.
Oh, okay. Okay.
One of them was more than happy to sit on your shoulder and just like kind of wander around, and they do this weird thing like purring.
Really? Oh, I had no
Yeah.
idea. That's so cool.
Oh, they're really nice, actually.
Yeah.
Good pets, rats. This is an advert for rats.
So, Natalie, why don't you tell everybody who's listening what you do?
Okay, so I'm an actress. So that's why I'm not doing very much at the moment. But I've been acting since I was really young. I've been professional for quite a long time now. So yeah, and I also do theatre management as well. So I'm working in the Shaftesbury Theatre as well. But obviously at the moment that's closed. So.
Yeah.
So what was on before it closed?
So we had an amazing show called And Juliet, which was like a modern version of Romeo and Juliet, and it was really genuinely a show I was really proud of. Like sometimes you work on these shows and you're not very, not that into
It's
them,
just a
but
job, maybe.
yeah, exactly. But no, this one was absolutely brilliant. So I think we're all really keen to get it up and running again and get everybody back because it's so good, and really lovely. Modern take on it, and really good for young people to see, so yeah, it's really positive.
It was a musical, right? It wasn't like, so like who the songs written by, or were they kind of pop songs, or like...
Yeah, so it's all pop songs from the 90s really, so it's all Max Martin pop songs, and so people like, I'm trying to think now, Backstreet Boys, Britney. Oh yeah, Britney's like one of the main ones, and loads of people like Demi Lovato, not that. I was going to say Avril Lavigne. That's not right. But yeah, there's loads of different people like Pink, Katy Perry, people like that. So all different songs from that era, and all pop songs, but they work really well in the context of the show.
Sure.
And they can be funny, and they, the way they're done. So it's just a lovely show, and we're all hoping to get it back up and running really soon. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, so the plan is for whenever you guys are coming back, for them to kind of be able to come back as well. Their run hasn't ended or anything then.
Yeah, no. So that's at the moment, that's what we want to, the producers really want to keep the show going, and, once we're up and running again, that's what we would be putting on, yeah. So, but obviously the longer things go on, the harder that could be. So everything's still a little bit up in the air, but we're still really hopeful that it's going to be okay, and keep going.
Fingers
with it.
crossed, because it relies on all those people, they're not having to take other work and stuff like that, being able to kind of jump back on and everything.
Absolutely, yeah. So I don't really know if that's going to have affected any of the cast, because obviously it's been months, so they might have had to take something else or whatever. But the cast they had before was amazing, so hopefully we'll get to keep people that we had, but we'll see. So yeah, so that's what I do a bit of that as well when I'm not acting. So yeah.
So I guess there's been no kind of, from your point of view, there's been no news about reopening. There's been no information about when, like, what you guys can do to move forward or anything.
Well, it's just really up in the air still. So we were thinking about sort of October time, and that would mean I would go back around September to help get things organised. But I don't know. We're still, it's not 100% sure. So hopefully that would be really good if we do. That would be great.
I hope so.
Yeah. So
I was watching on the news. They were talking to people in theatre, and they were talking about just having 300 people in the audience and stuff like that. And it just doesn't seem very feasible.
This is the thing, yeah.
One for the actors as well, because performing just to like 300 people, and it looking very empty, and I guess that would be a bit disconcerting and a bit kind of off-putting. And also, like, I don't know, people's safety and stuff like that. I don't know.
It's the atmosphere, as you say, for the actors and for the patrons, and also the cost of these shows, the big West End shows, is huge. So it's got to be viable as well as a business, I guess. So it's it's one of those things that's just, if we could get it going and get it going with a decent amount of capacity, and it'd be worth doing, then we would, you know. So as soon as that's possible, it will happen. So I have to try and stay positive and like, yes, it's going to happen soon, you know.
It's going to happen. It's
yes,
gonna be fine.
It will. It will.
I don't think people realise how much these shows cost to put on, like the amount of people, because you only see the people on the stage. They don't see everybody else, the musicians or the people at backstage, the runners, people like yourself, and and it's just
box office, you know, all those people, management, all the ushers, you know, yeah. Oh, I must do a shout out to my Shaftesbury family because they are amazing. So hi everyone at the Shaftesbury. But yeah, so yeah, there's so many people that go into that, and the cost of keeping that all going is really high, and keeping the building going as well. Building's expensive, you know, to keep going.
Absolutely. Because they're most of them historic buildings as well, so they require a certain amount of upkeep and care and everything like that behind them. So.
Yeah, definitely. So, but there's been a lot of works on the theatre whilst we've been closed, so that's been good. They've taken the opportunity to do that and update things and new bars and things. So they are doing some works and, well, quite a lot of works to renovate it. So that'll be really nice. It'll be really weird for me going in and be like, well, where is everything? But yeah,
why is it all changed?
Why is it all changed? Like, man, can you show me the way to the toilets? I'm like, not really, not anymore. No. It used to be over there. No, but it's really good for the theatre. So yeah.
So last year you got to portray one of your icons, didn't you? In a feature-length documentary.
That's right. Yeah.
I know it recently screened again, didn't it? Just as lockdown hit.
Literally, just during lockdown, after about a week or so of lockdown, which was nice.
So will it still be on 5OD then, or whatever it's called? Is it still on streaming?
So. Yeah, I think you can still get it. So it's called Cher, the Greatest Showgirl. And yeah, I think you can still get it on 5.
So you play Sunny then, yeah?
Yeah, definitely Sunny, yeah. but yeah, so that was an amazing job. Loved that.
Like when we did the superhero film that me and Liam made and Natalie stars in, just for a gag in the background, we had lockers and I said you guys could decorate them. And who did you put in the back of your locker?
I put Cher.
Because so when she opens a locker, you see Cher just looking back at.
You know, yeah, and it's funny because even in my locker at the theatre years ago, I had a picture of Cher in there as well. I've always really looked up to her, and I think she's just so cool, as well as being incredibly talented, and you know, and you know, my mum always listened to Cher when I was growing up and stuff, as well as many other people, but that was definitely always there. And I had like her greatest hits when I was like 5 or 6 or something, and I'd have it on like Walkman, and I'd have Queen on one side, greatest hits, and Cher greatest hits on the other side, and I just listened to it on repeat. I just thought she was amazing, and you know, so to grow up and get to play her even in that, you know, just for a small amount of time was amazing. Yeah, great.
I've been recently kind of trying to go through her films.
Yeah.
There's loads of her films that I never really watched before.
Yeah. She's a really good actor.
She's fantastic. That's why I didn't really... I think I watched The Witches of Eastwick, I think, and I was like, Cher is wonderful in The Witches of Eastwick.
Yeah, she is.
Brilliant in it.
She really is.
So then I kind of was like, I want to check out more of these. So I watched Silkwood.
I love that film.
And she's amazing.
She's amazing.
She's absolutely amazing in it. She's by far one of the best people in it.
Yeah.
And she's got this whole kind of, I don't know, kind of bisexual lesbian kind of relationship going on in it, and she's really kind of butch and kind of cool, and
it's really against type to what we know or we think of as Cher. Yeah, so yeah, she's
made me wish
wonderful.
There was more of her, actually.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I love that film. I have to say, it's really cool.
So did she do like a show with Sunny then back in the 60s or 70s? Like, wasn't it like a TV show?
Yeah, they did the Sunny and Cher show.
So was that like a variety kind of show or something?
Yeah, I think it was mostly them singing and doing jokes. You know, a lot of it was just about them, and she'd come on in different outfits because she was, and she still is gorgeous, but was very thin at the time, and she was just like this, you know, model like figure, and they dress her up in all these elaborate costumes, and she'd come on and sing a song in like big feathers and things, you know, and different characters. And that would kind of, that with Sunny having their little spats, because obviously they're married and they would have like little comic spats on stage, would be pretty much the show. They'd have guests on and stuff as well. So yeah, I mean, yeah, she's wonderful. And yeah, big fan.
How did that job come around then? Was it something you kind of saw and you went after it, or you were just like, I need this because I need to play Cher? Like...
Well, it's funny because my agent at the time, she was saying she put me up for it, but I had already seen it on Spotlight, and I was like, I need to be seen for this, you know. So I messaged her and I was like, please put me up. But she was like, yeah, I've already done it, so it's fine.
I've already done it, you're fine.
Yeah, she was like, yeah, we know you kind of look a bit like us, so it's fine. Yeah, so then it was just auditioning, and it's one of those things as an actor, you kind of think, a lot of the time you go to like 50 auditions and you might get one if you're lucky, you know. That's kind of the way it is. And but a lot of that is down to look, you know, the physical looks, you know. So you can sort of say, oh well, I wasn't tall enough, I wasn't enough,
I wasn't the person they had in their head. But when I saw this, and I was like, if I don't get this, I've kind of got no one else to blame but myself. So I worked really, really hard and trying to get the voice and you know, try and get the mannerisms and all that stuff, because I was like, literally, I need this.
I can't not get it, you know. So and it was just a really lovely job and really lovely people to work with, and really, really quick. Like, it was all done in like a week, and I was always on set. Like, they would drag me off, change me, put me in a different really elaborate costume, put me back on again, and yeah, it was a real quick turnaround. But it was a great experience because of that, really, I suppose, because it's a bit of a challenge as well. So yeah, and the voice was a big challenge. So
yeah, did the voice involve singing, or was it just?
I only did a little bit of singing, really. So it wasn't really that necessary, because it's more about the drama behind the songs. So it's like what's happening at, you know, in her personal life when these songs are being made, and you know how that reflects maybe in the songs and things like this. But she's had such an interesting life as well that I didn't know until I started obviously looking into it and researching it and stuff. So it was a great experience. Awesome. Yeah, it was lovely. So it was nice to see it during lockdown. I remember I was feeling a bit blue that day, you know. I was feeling a bit, I think it was on a Saturday, and it was like the first week or two, and everyone's feeling a bit like, oh gosh, what's going to happen, you know, oh no. And then somebody told my mum, I think my mum's friend told her, and then she was like, Christine's just said you're going to be on again tonight. And I was like, what? And that's how I find out about things. I literally
totally.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's like mum will find out things and then let me know. I never get told anything through the normal channels. But yeah, so that really boosted me, just to be like, oh, it's back on again. That's really nice.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so it's cool.
God, and we just hope at some point people can act again and things are happening. And
I think things are starting to, are they? You know.
Yeah, I think the new Jurassic Park has started up in the UK again, because that's for some reason they're shooting it here. Don't know why. And I think Batman's starting up again. But I'm guessing everybody on the cast and crew has to do like a two week quarantine before they can even hit set, and they've probably got to live in like a bubble or something like that. I don't know.
Probably a positive test before going on as well.
Yeah,
not
definitely.
A negative test.
A negative test. Yeah. Everyone here has to have COVID, or we cannot make this film.
And that means it's fine.
Yeah, no, that's really good to hear though, because obviously, you know, one thing is to get back up and running again as soon as. So
yeah. I mean, like, they've just delayed a load of films again, though, haven't they? So, like, Tenet got delayed till... I don't think they've even announced a date.
No, they've just delayed it indefinitely now.
Oh,
and it'll be the same for Wonder Woman as well, yeah.
So,
it will be.
That's a shame.
Because America is just absolutely not even close to being able to reopen cinemas in any way, and they can't open without the money coming in from America. Even on VOD wouldn't even be the same. They wouldn't make at all that right amount of money.
Well, I mean, like a film that costs like 200 million, you can't put that on VOD. It just doesn't make financial sense.
No, of course. Oh, that's a shame. I was looking forward to both of those films, actually.
Yeah,
so,
me too.
Yeah.
But Bill and Ted is coming out on the 1st of September, so you've got that too.
Amazing. Yeah, no, that would be wicked. That would be really cool.
I really like the new trailer a lot, actually.
I
liked it more than the previous one, and I already said to you, Ollie, that I think the plot's obvious, but the ending, I think the ending's already in the trailer, but it's fine.
It's fine. It's Bill and Ted. See. It's all good.
It's Bill and Ted.
It doesn't matter. Oh,
but it looks really fun. Like it looks really fun to me, and I just have no complaints.
I love the fact that Alex Winter hasn't acted properly. I mean, obviously he's made films and documentaries, some of which are amazing. Actually, like he's got a new one about child actors that just came out. That's really good. And he's got one coming out about Frank Zappa, which looks incredible. And but he hasn't acted in a long time, and it just looks like he's just stepped off the set of Bogus Journey and kind of just carried on again. And
it does.
It's amazing.
It really does.
It just shows you, he's that talent, and it's, it's just he knows that character inside out. He can just
you can just step right back into it. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I think Keanu's the same, and they both just look like they've been waiting to redo this.
Yeah. I think it's a real passion project for both of them.
Yeah,
it's more than just a job. That kind of role, I think, it's a big part of your life, I think, and that friendship they have as well.
Yeah, because they were friends when they were quite young, weren't they?
Mm-hmm.
I was chatting to someone about it, and they're like, "Oh, I don't think I like it. They just sound old now." And I'm like, "Well, they are nearly 60.
Yeah, give them a break. Oh my god, people get old. It's all right.
Yeah, everyone's allowed to get old, especially them.
Yeah, exactly. Aww.
And that's the joke anyway. That's what the
I know.
Yeah, exactly.
How weird.
But we all know Keanu Reeves doesn't age, really. They've probably put appliances on him because he's like immortal, apparently, according to the internet.
I'm not used to him without a beard, I will admit. He does look a bit like, why don't you have a beard? Come on.
Yeah, he's had a beard for quite a while, hasn't he?
Ted would have a beard.
Well, I tell you what I found weird. I saw pictures from the new Matrix, and he had a beard, and I thought that was weird because I was like, nah, Neo doesn't have a beard. He has short hair.
He's got a beard in the new Matrix.
He doesn't have a beard in the Matrix.
No, that's a question. He has a beard.
Oh, in the new one he does, yeah.
That's
weird.
A
bit strange. Yeah, that doesn't really fit with your idea of him.
Well, he died in the first Matrix, so God knows.
Didn't
he? Not the first Matrix, the third Matrix.
Oh, okay.
He didn't die, he ascended.
I haven't seen it since the cinema. It's been a long time.
But I cannot remember.
Have you watched anything this week, Liam?
Oh God, have I watched anything this week? Actually, that's a really good question. I've watched some stuff that's to do with.
It's a really good question.
It is a really good question because I cannot remember this morning, let alone anything else.
It's been a busy day.
It's been a busy day. Oh, I watched Kramer versus Kramer.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why.
I haven't. It's been a long time since I watched that. It was like on Channel 5 on a Sunday afternoon. I
don't think I've seen it.
It's
Dustin Hoffman, and he's getting custody of it. He's going through a divorce, isn't he?
And Meryl Streep walks out and Dustin Hoffman and his kid, and then later on Meryl Streep comes back and wants custody.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
okay. I'll have to watch it.
A bit of a court case.
It is a good film.
It's
worth watching.
It's got Streep in it. I've got to watch it.
It's got Meryl Streep in it, so yeah.
Gotta watch it.
And I think she won awards for that, even though her role's very small. But I think she got to me during the film, actually, more than any other actor on it. The kind of story herself, it's a little bit kind of too much 1970s. It's hard for dads to look at a dad doing, like, being a dad. Must be difficult being a man, kind of thing.
You should have worn a superhero costume at some point in it, and like,
basically, yeah. There could have been that. But it's Dustin Hoffman, who's also always kind of fun to watch. So
100%. Yeah, no, he's wonderful. Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
But the other films I watched, because I watched stuff. We'll talk about Elaine May in a second, but I'd watched Elaine May's first film, and I watched John Cassavetes' film as well.
Oh, okay.
Oh, cool.
The one he did with. Oh my God, my brain is destroyed. I'm gonna have to look it up. No.
Is it the
Why is
one
it
he
not
did
there?
with Peter Falk as well? Before?
Yes,
Is
it's
it
the one just before this one?
Husbands?
No,
No?
the other one. That's the one I could remember. A Woman Under the Influence.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. Which is great.
Was it?
Kind of, yeah, really, really great.
I haven't seen it.
He's a... Oh God, I don't know if we can go into John Cassavetes, but he's an absolute kind of auteur filmmaker, and just knew how to do.
I don't think I've seen any of his actual directed films. I've only seen like Rosemary's Baby and Dirty Dozen. But I haven't really seen much of him in anything, really, to be honest.
No, I'm a bit the same way. Yeah, I've seen Rosemary's Baby, and I think that's probably about it. Actually, I don't even think I've seen The Dirty Dozen. But he is incredible, and I was obviously looking into him, to do with this film, and he's just had done so much, and just
He did do an episode of Columbo.
Good. Well, him and Peter Falk were really good friends.
Yeah.
And which you can absolutely tell in this film, actually. This Woman Under the Influence. It's worth watching. It's incredibly kind of emotional and intense, and deep, kind of compatible people and love and all that stuff. But
I'm gonna watch it.
I think you can tell that him, Peter Falk and Elaine May were kind of a three, and they knew each other's kind of ways of working and things and stuff. So, but I definitely trying to watch more of his stuff, because I didn't even realise he died so young. He died in 1989.
Well, that was when his last film came out, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, I think he was only 50 something when he died.
Such a shame.
Just related to alcoholism, I think it was.
Wow, that's really sad.
1959, yeah. 1989, he died at 59, yeah. So, but he left a kind of a huge mark, really, actually. Even if, as you guys say, wasn't someone I knew really well. I knew his name better than I knew the work he'd done. So
do you think he was like an actor's actor and a director's director kind of guy?
I don't know.
Do you know what I mean, though? Like, he was... obviously he wasn't
he's
a
not
big
huge, not like a huge star, but
yes, yeah, I get you, yeah. More kind of, what you said is right, yeah.
Even from what I've seen, I would think so, because it's not that many people know about him, or well, maybe they do, but it's not like he's not like a huge star like Dustin Hoffman or whatever.
Yeah, he's definitely a kind of like
he's so talented,
film and career kind of stuff, and critic kind of art thing, that kind of side
so
of film,
talented.
And stuff. And I also watched The Omen because it came out this year. Which
cool.
I hadn't seen The Omen in forever, and I didn't remember The Omen.
A long time.
When we were growing up, we only had a Betamax player when everyone else had a VHS player, and because it was like a hand-me-down, someone gave it to us, and the only VHS tapes we had the Omen trilogy, so I know those three films very well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've never seen another film than the first one. I've only ever seen
the third one's amazing. You got Sam Neill as the adult Damien.
Oh, that's cool.
That is cool.
That is cool. I'll have to watch that.
But the first one's great. There's some amazing death sequences in that. It's brilliant.
It is good. I looked at it was definitely better than I thought it was going to be. And it's so weird seeing Gregory Peck in that kind of role when I just see him as like Atticus Finch or something.
Yeah, you picture him in black and white in a 50s film, not like a...
But yeah, I love the it's Doctor Who, isn't it, that gets killed by the steeple of the church.
Yeah.
That bit's amazing. I can't remember the actor's name. Patrick Troughton, the second
Who gets
Doctor.
their head cut off by the pane of glass or whatever?
That's David Warner.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. That special effect is. I love it how they're just going for it with special effects. They're not trying to hide them too much. They're just kind of putting them in there, kind of like, in a kind of spirit of fun almost. Like this is the fake head bouncing around kind of stuff, and it looks great.
You know, last week, Liam, how we were joking about horror film directors directing their next film's going to be a superhero film. The Omen.
Okay, good point, Richard Donner. Yeah, good point.
It always seems to be they do a horror film, then they do a superhero film. It's always been the way.
That's quite astute. I have to look into that because people do tend to start with horror films, don't they? It's weird.
I think because you
follow the tropes, I suppose. And
that, and you can get you can make a low budget horror film and get a lot of bang for your buck by the way you kind of direct it, I think. So like even if you've got a small budget, but as long as you know you've kind of got the skill set of a good director, you can kind of, I don't know.
It's kind of a playground, isn't it, as a director?
Yeah.
You can really just play around with horror and do almost what you want to do with it. And people are always willing to pay money to go see horror. That was Roger Corman's thing, wasn't it, back in the 70s?
Because people sometimes just love watching bad horror films.
Yeah,
do you know what I
like,
mean?
yeah.
Whereas people tend not to watch a bad drama or because but they'll watch a bad horror film.
Yeah, I do like horror films of most ilk, to be honest. So
I mean, I haven't really watched anything this week. I've watched a few films, like rewatched a few films just while I've been working. I watched my old favourite Empire Records, which is it's my trusty, if I'm stressed out or I need a bit of a cheering up, that's the film I always turn to.
Oh, is that your proper comfort food film?
Oh, that is my comfort film, like proper comfort film, that is.
Do you have a comfort film, Natalie?
Labyrinth springs to mind. It's just I just go back to it whenever I'm sad.
That has a link for today as well, doesn't it?
It does, it does.
Yeah.
Well, so does Silkwood that I mentioned earlier as well, which I wasn't going to say at the time.
Yeah, I know. It's funny, isn't it? All these things interlink, and
yeah, absolutely.
But no, Labyrinth is definitely
Labyrinth's a really good one. Mine's definitely Kiki's Delivery Service. That's my absolute comfort food.
I
if
don't
I'm ever
know
feeling
that
down.
one. Kiki's Delivery Service.
Yeah, it's animation, and it's about a young witch who has to go off and be a big witch in a big city on her own, and it's just about how difficult it is as a kid trying to be like a real person in a city on your own. But it's just, so she sets up she's a witch, but she sets up a delivery service, like a kind of gig economy, like just dropping stuff off.
That sounds
I just
cool.
love it. I really love that film. I love it. I know every beat of it, kind of thing. It's just something I can put on and know exactly what's happening.
Empire Records, is mine, just because I think when I first saw it, like in about 20 years ago, you know, when like you have that time in your life when you finally you think you figure out who you are and what you're into, and kind of all the music was kind of like what I started to get into and stuff like that. So it's kind of, even though I know Empire Records is not a very good film, there's a lot tied into it. Do you know what I mean? Because I remember showing it to Liam, and Liam was like,
I liked it well enough.
But it's those films, isn't it? That sort of, I mean, because how old were you then? Old, like, because I think it's
14. 14.
Because there's sort of those films that you watch with your friends, or you know, when you're that age. Like ours was, we watched The Craft again and again and again and again, and it was great. We loved it so much, you know. And
I'm so much more The Craft than Empire Records. I watched it not long ago. Honestly, about 2 months ago.
Actually, the main girl in The Craft had to wear a wig in The Craft because she's one of the leads in Empire Records, and she shaves all the hair off in Empire Records, so she has to wear a wig in The Craft.
Is that Neve Campbell?
No, Robin Tunney.
Oh, Robin Tunney. Yeah, sure. That's a proper cast, that is. Like
so
Skeet
good.
Ulrich.
Yeah. So good. Yeah, that was one that we definitely used to watch, and that has been sort of a bit of a comfort food film as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I know you've been watching a few of the films we've been talking about, so I just wondered, like, if you have any thoughts on some of the films that we've...
Oh, they've been really hard to watch, some of them. 70s are not kind to women, are they?
No.
They're really not. Like, I found it really... So I'm thinking of Straw Dogs, particularly, which, I mean, I liked as a film, but
it's a well-made film.
Yeah,
but it's very questionable in today's.
Oh my goodness, it's
that
really
tone is
hard.
Exactly my review of that film. It's like, it's good, but like...
I've never, you know, it's really interesting to watch it, you know, as a woman nowadays, looking, you know, and just think, how was this even, you know, okay? And
how?
You know, and I know it was it banned or it was cut for, you know, so because that
it was controversial.
So at least because when I heard that, I was like, oh, at least it was controversial, because that would have been even worse. But it was just.
But it's still came for a system that allowed it to be made.
Yeah.
There was not a voice going, "Are you sure you want to do that?" Like,
yeah, really interesting. And just so hard to watch, and even just the way she's portrayed, because I remember thinking, I watched it a couple of weeks ago, I think, but I remember thinking, you know, there's times when she's quite strong and she's like when she's got no top on and she looks at the builders who are just a bunch of pervs or whatever, and she's it's sort of like, I saw it as a bit of a, well, you know, F you kind of thing, you know,
I agree.
Sticking a finger up, because it's like, well, this is me, and you can't get to me because I'm in the house, and the house is like this metaphor of you cannot get through this. Once they've got through that layer or whatever, that protective shield, then all hell breaks loose, obviously. And
had the cat died already at that point? I can't remember.
No,
because
I don't think so.
Because that would have been the first time they got in the house, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. That was when it was
without being invited in.
Yeah, without the tray with all the drinks and the weird saucer milk. But yeah,
it's massive. How it's not even a saucer. It was like a huge.
When she brings the huge fish bowl of it.
The cat drowned.
Yeah. So so that one was. I'm glad I watched it, and because I hadn't seen it before, so I'm really glad I saw that. But
that's why it was on the list. It was a film that we all know the name of.
Yeah,
I've never seen it.
Yeah.
But after, I was kind of like, I wish I had a different film.
Go have a quick shower now. But and then I saw Badlands as well, which I really enjoyed. That was just a really lovely film to see.
It is,
and again, I hadn't seen it, so I was like, naughty for not seeing it. No, that was brilliant, and I love Badlands. Yeah, it's Sissy Spacek, wasn't it, in that? And I've recently, this week I was watching Carrie. Because it's this year, and I was like, I've never seen it, so I need to watch it. And yeah, she's just got this quality of otherworldliness to her, hasn't she? And
absolutely,
you can't quite put your finger on it, but she's really, like, you can read so much into her performance and her as an actress, and it's just it's really good. I mean, it was really good. And I watched what was that one? Another Terrence Malick film that you guys were saying.
You watched Days of Heaven.
That's the one. Yes, that was really lovely. I really liked that film.
It's a very pretty film.
Yeah. It was a really, really pretty film. There's
so much of the 70s is just kind of crime films. Like, it seems like the next film is another crime film and another crime film.
Definitely.
It's so hard. Like, it's definitely about the thing about the 70s was very important to make crime films.
I think.
And you get like Godfathers and stuff like that, and then Mean Streets and everything else coming through the 70s. Like.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm a big fan of that kind of genre, that kind of film. To be honest, I do really enjoy sort of mobster films, like Godfather and Godfather Part 2 are like probably two of my favourite films. I just love them. And which I know everybody does, but it's
the same one. I think I said a few weeks ago when I watched Godfather recently, and it's kind of like my hot take was like, Marlon Brando's really good.
He's so
because
good.
I'm so used to people just doing an impersonation of him doing that.
I love him a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you watch him again and go, oh no, he's absolutely dialed in. He really knows what he's doing, and like he's absolutely committed. It's not a comedic performance or a laughable performance in the slightest. It's just become that because people impersonate it so often.
Yeah,
but
and
you
him
go back
in
and
Streetcar, you know, have you seen him? He's just.
What was it when he did Superman? He said he's going to play Jor-El like a carrot or something like that. That's what he was channeling. It was really bizarre, like his thought process. And, we all know he was a bit bonkers. But,
whatever gets you there, I suppose. You know, that's what you've got to think of. Channeling a carrot. Yeah, no, he was a bit bonkers, but he's such a good actor. Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, so trying to think what else I've been watching. But lots of things, lots of different bits, because I've just had lots of time to watch lots of stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
sure, yeah.
I rewatched Rocky because that was always one of my faves as a kid.
It's so good.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. And I think I saw it when I was about 16. I watched it with my dad, and just him saying to me, Natalie, this is a really good film. You know, you're going to like this. And it is. I re-saw it, you know, just the other day, and it's just so... When you think he wrote it, and he was a struggling actor when he wrote it, and then...
Yeah,
incredible.
Well, like, apparently he wrote the first draft in like 3 days or something like that. Like,
really?
I think once you know you've got an idea and you know exactly what you want, you can just bang it out, can't you?
Yeah.
But I think there was some, like, apparently I don't think they wanted him to be it. Like, they would buy the script, but they wouldn't put him in the film or something. There was definitely some issues regarding that, and then he just fought for it.
Was that the kind of thing, that the impetus for him to write it, because he was kind of like, they're not going to put me in the roles I want to play, so I'll I'll write it.
Yeah, I think so. It's a bit of a Cinderella story, isn't it? Really, because he was a really struggling actor. I think he was homeless or something. Not at that time, but he was sort of sofa surfing and like wasn't really.
His car and stuff,
and
he may have done some softcore porn as well, if I remember. Well, not remember.
Remember.
Remember back in the 70s.
But yeah, and then to come back with such an amazing story. I think because obviously it's the world he knew, you know, and that's how he's able to
he wrote what he knew. It was based on a real guy that he knew as well, wasn't it? The actual boxer. So kind of a...
And then when you get to Rocky 4, he's got a robotic servant. She's like jumped the shark massively, and you're like, what the hell? But the Creed films were quite good.
I've not seen Creed 2, but Creed was amazing.
I didn't see him.
Creed is really good.
Creed.
No, I want to see
those.
those.
Odd beasts. They're kind of like at this point when kind of sequels aren't normal or expected. It's so funny that Rocky got like 12 of them.
Yeah.
It's so funny that out of all films.
Is there 8 Rocky films, including the Creed? So there's 5.
Probably,
6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
So there's and it's so weird that it was this that kept on going. It became more than just a story about this boxer trying to win the title. It became like this whole America, like in the Soviet War, and the Civil War, and the Cold War, and all the rest of it and stuff. And it's so weird that
such a
Rocky
symbol.
became that. Yeah, because it's funny to go back and like watch him in reverse order. I bet it's really an odd experience to go just back to like this kind of drama film back in Philadelphia.
Like Rocky and Rambo got a cartoon series though. Do you know what I mean? Like it was.
Did it? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Basically they tried to make They made Rambo like a GI Joe kind of thing. It was so bizarre, just bizarre.
Yeah, so good. That was yeah. It was nice to watch that again actually, because I was thinking I think it's like the biggest film of this year.
I'm betting,
it could be.
One of them.
Yeah, because we're already talking about 1976 films, so
might as well.
Might as well go into it. But 1976 film Rocky is, I think, by far the biggest film of the year. Wins Oscars and everything else. Like avoids Omen is the same thing, but like.
And he's nice to his girlfriend. Which for this time is quite unusual. It would seem, you know. Yeah. So I like him a lot for that reason. Yeah, it's very cool. And yet her treatment by her brother is so weird as well.
Yeah, Paulie's a bit.
God, yeah.
So weird. And I'd forgotten that. And I remember thinking at the time, why does he care so much that she's, you know, slept with? I was like, this is strange for a brother to care about this.
Maybe he's like a father to her more so. Maybe
I think, Now when I rewatched it, I was like, okay. And obviously, it's the time and it's the the culture. It's Italian American Catholic thing, probably. As you know, but it's that stood out to me. Remember when I was younger watching it, and I didn't want to say to my dad and be like, why is that really strange? But generally he's quite nice to Adrian, and I like that about Rocky. It's cool.
He likes the pet store. That's what I remember about Rocky.
Yeah.
She works at a pet store. It's so weird the way that story goes. You know, they all got nominated in that film. Every actor got nominated for the Oscars. actor. Best actor was Sty Stallone. Best actress was Talala Shire. Best supporting actor Burgess Meredith and Burt Young. It's crazy, really. Like all of them.
I mean, yeah, it is a bit mad, isn't it? I mean, they're all brilliant in it, but
they are.
It's
just, as you say, it was the biggest film of the year. And
yeah,
it's rare that the kind of almost critics' favorite and Oscar favorite is kind of the most popular film of the year as well.
Yeah,
and also he doesn't win at the end, which I love.
Hey,
so again,
he doesn't win at the end.
Yeah,
no, that's the genius of it.
Yeah. And yet you feel like he's a winner in it at the end because he's you know he's gone that far, you know, with the world champion, and he's proven something. He's got the girl, you know, he's definitely come up in life and he's doing all right. So yeah, you feel like he's the winner.
I think for me though, one of the best is Network from this year.
Oh,
Sidney Lumet, amazing film.
Yeah,
if you haven't seen that one, check that one out.
That's also another link to this film. This we're doing this year, isn't it? Because of Ned Beatty. Is it Beatty? Betty beating of Ned Beatty?
Ned Beatty, yeah.
Beatty. Yeah.
He was in the Superman movies, wasn't he? As like
oh God, he was. Yeah.
He was the main henchman.
The main henchman. Yeah.
To Luther.
I forgot about that. He's in Network as well, and I think he's also in. One of my favourites of the year was All the President's Men.
That's a good film. Yeah, that is a good film. Yeah.
Watergate.
I knew what you meant. It's like, no. A lot of typing in that film. Not one to watch with a headache.
A lot of typing. I very sadly did a double feature with that recently, because I watched the Steven Spielberg film, and then I watched All the President's Men afterwards. Because basically the post finishes on the Watergate kind of hotel, and then the next film is like this, like the sequel.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I might try that. But no, I do like that film. It's a good one.
Dusty H had a good year this year though, because he also did.
He's in everything. He's in everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the 70s.
He really did. It's phenomenal. Yeah.
Marathon Man's an odd film. Have you seen that recently?
I haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah,
it's an odd film. It's an odd one.
I haven't seen it for a long time. I'm trying to think. It was years ago when I saw that.
And is it Laurence Olivier playing he's the one playing the dentist, isn't he? Well, he's not a dentist.
He's meant
to
be
a Nazi torturer.
He's a bit like Mengele or something like that.
Yeah. I think he's meant to be a Nazi. There's a lot of Nazis in the 70s films. There's a lot of like fear of the Nazis have escaped to America and stuff. I think.
Yeah, definitely. And it's Taxi Driver this year.
It was,
yes, it is. Yeah.
I love that film.
Is absolutely amazing film.
I haven't seen it since I was 18. I need to revisit the film. But I can still remember. It's one of those films though. Like I can see a film from like 5 years ago that I can't remember a single thing from, but I still remember so much about Taxi Driver that it's still quite not fresh in my mind, but it's still there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It stays with you. It's a powerful film. And Jodie Foster in it is like
Foster in it, she's
12 or 13 or something. She's so young in it, and she's amazing. And
she's an incredible talent, though.
She is.
Definitely. But yeah,
do you know what I've never seen? I never saw the David Bowie film, The Man Who Fell to Earth, though.
No, I haven't.
My dad has shown me that, but
I haven't. I must watch it because I love David Bowie. But I was hoping to watch it actually before we talked today, because I was like, it's this year, but I just didn't get around to it. Have you seen it, Liam?
Years ago. It's a film my dad showed me, but it's honestly, as you say, sometimes nothing sticks in your head. Like I just don't think I remember anything about it really, apart from who's in it.
Is it a musical or is it like a straight acted film?
No, I think it's just a straight.
I think it's a film. Yeah.
Okay.
Because he is, he's also a really good actor as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think one of his last main films was probably The Prestige, maybe. Like acting,
gotta be, hasn't it? Really.
Yeah.
He was good in that though. As what
Tesla.
signs? Tesla. That's it.
Yeah.
I think You've probably got the first ever Jaws knockoff film that came out. So a year after Jaws, you got Mako, the Jaws of Death. So the long-running, many films that are just aping on Jaws.
Oh, that's so funny. Gosh.
You get a King Kong this year as well, though, don't you?
Is that the first remake where it's a guy in a suit?
I think it's a guy. I don't know if it's the first remake, but I thought there was one in the 50s as well. But...
there was definitely like a King Kong versus Godzilla.
Yeah, sure.
And there was Mighty Joe Young, which is
it's the one with Jeff Bridges.
Yeah, that's the
Jessica Lange,
that's the main remake, I think. Which it's a man in a suit. It may have been Rick Baker in the suit, who's like a famous.
Famous like special effects guy.
Special effects guy. Yeah, but yeah, it wasn't very good. If I remember, they go to the island to look for oil or something like that. So they remove the whole filmmaking aspect of going to like explore this island.
I think you're right.
And they just go there to get oil. It's like boring. But yeah, there's a few of the films. You got Bad News Bears, which if you haven't seen that, it's well worth a watch. But Walter Matthau. Oh, and you got Assault on Precinct 13 as well. Bit of John Carpenter.
Oh, a bit of John Carpenter. That's a great film. Yeah. Another hard crime film, like about kind of destruction of society in the 70s. It's like another one.
We're just full of this thing. I mean, New York was having a particularly tough time, wasn't it? For crime around this time, wasn't it? And maybe that's...
Well, speaking to Brandon, that lasted up until the 90s. Do you know what I mean?
We could talk about Elaine May, though. Move on to wonderful Elaine May, who I cannot wait to talk about, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
But because we've already mentioned so much stuff, even right now, that ties into her career and ties into the stuff we made, like going back to like Silkwood, which was directed by Mike Nichols. Mike Nichols and May were the kind of comedy act that they came out of in the kind of early, I think the 50s they started actually.
Yeah.
So I mean, she was a pioneer in kind of improv comedy and stage comedy and stuff with Mike Nichols until splitting from him, until making her career of her own, really. And I think we'll keep coming back to it, but her first film was A New Leaf, which Walter Matthau, as you mentioned it already, like A New Leaf was a struggle for her to make, because I think there was this idea of her splitting from Mike Nichols, that she'd become an actress, but she was definitely wanting to become a writer-director. She knew how to write, she knew how to direct stuff, and she took this film, A New Leaf, she took the book and adapted it, and then Paramount took it off her and recut the film after she finished, and like basically didn't trust her to release a film. But when she released A New Leaf in 1971, she was, I think we spoke about this with Barbara Loden, that made her one of like 3 people to ever get 3 women in Hollywood to release a film for the Hollywood studio system, which it's the 1970s, and she's like 3 people have done it. It's just incredible.
From what I've read about her, though, she wasn't very good at sticking to budgets and things like that, which I think kind of put her at odds with the film.
Sure, but it's kind of like it definitely put her odds. And the production of this film, we can definitely talk about, because I think it's an amazing story.
Which film? Like the one we're talking about today.
The one talking about today, yeah, Mikey and Nicky.
Is Mikey and Nicky? I was correct.
You're right, actually. Yeah,
Mikey and Nicky.
But Mickey and Nicky works better, though.
I thought it was going to be Mickey and Nicky, and it's only when you watch it you go, "Oh, it's Mikey and Nicky." Okay.
Oh, it's Mikey. I did think it was Mickey and Nicky. This just sounds more. Maybe it gives it too much of a fun atmosphere.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe.
But and the same thing with because New Leaf was really popular, but it's really dark. I don't know if you guys might not have seen it, but it's an idea that Walter Matthau is basically like a billionaire. Well, he was probably a millionaire back in the 70s. Loses all his money and wants to marry like a rich woman to get her money and basically kill her and then inherit all the money. Elaine May plays the rich heiress. She's like a kind of a scatty genius. She's like a botanist kind of stuff, and she's in love with Walter Matthau, but Walter Matthau is just trying to kill her. Basically, is the plot.
Because it's the 70s.
Because it's the 70s. But it's she had this kind of Elaine May had this ability to kind of write stuff that wasn't over, like, I think what I'm trying to say is, I think when she came into the studio system, she stepped on a lot of toes because she wrote things that people considered to be men stuff, and like kind of, and not her kind of lane kind of thing.
Yeah.
And she wasn't scared of kind of writing quite dark stuff about kind of, you know, toxic masculinity or kind of like social issues and stuff. And she wasn't scared of shying away from that on camera either. And I think because of that, people didn't like her, and because of that, it made her. She had such a difficult career in Hollywood. Like, and her story is that she made these 3 films. They were all kind of troubled productions, and then years later, like Warren Beatty went to bat for her to make Ishtar, and then Ishtar is notoriously one of the biggest flops of all time, even though the figures actually aren't that. And she never made another film since. She didn't direct another film, but she wrote plenty. She won an Oscar after this for Primary Colours, you know, which is again with Mike Nichols. But she absolutely knew what she was doing. And I think it was last year, she won like the Tony for acting on stage.
Yeah, it was like
she won
2018. She came back.
Waverley Gallery, I think it was. She won Best Actress, you know, the Tony Award and stuff like that. And I think she even said last year that she's going to make another film, which I absolutely hope she does. I think she's 89 now or something. But I absolutely hope she does. Like, and I think she had. She's obsessed with this kind of dark, like looking at darker aspects of masculinity, and I think that's what pissed people off. And even like Primary Colours, the movie Mike Nichols, which is really the story of Bill Clinton. That's what she's obsessing in that script, about the fact, like, how does the darker elements of his kind of world fit into the fact that he's Bill Clinton, the president, and he puts all those like the kind of weird stuff about rape charges and the illegitimate kids into the scripts and stuff, and she's clearly got that on the mind. It is, and she's wonderful, and I would absolutely go to bat for Elaine May at any point. I think she was absolutely fantastic.
So it looks like she kind of did like a Carrie Fisher, where she was like a famous like script doctor.
Yes,
and so she's got a lot of uncredited films that she's worked on. So like Labyrinth, for example, and Reds, I think, as well.
Right,
which again is a I think, who worked on Reds? Was that Warren Beatty as well?
Warren Beatty, yeah.
So Tootsie as well. Apparently she wrote all of Bill Murray's stuff in that.
Yeah, because she was like apparently so funny, like such an amazing improviser and comedian to start with. So.
Yeah, she worked on Birdcage as well.
Yeah,
Birdcage, yeah, another Mike Nichols as well.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm honest, I really didn't know anything about her until today. Do you know what I mean? So, but she has worked on a lot of things that I, have seen or like or love, like within Labyrinth and stuff like that. Which you think that's all? Everyone says that's all Terry Jones because he came up with the idea based on the artwork of that guy who does all the little trolls and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
and she obviously, for some reason, she doesn't get credited, or I don't know what that is. If maybe her name on the script is like a bit of a looked down upon because of her history with cinema, or if it's just one of those billing rights issues.
I think it's often that it's just the world of being a writer, I think, now and again in kind of scripts. But
wasn't there something earlier on in her career where she used a pseudonym as well? So I don't think she's overly fussed about always being credited.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember. It's really bad. I can't remember exactly what that was, but I'm sure there's a play maybe that she didn't use her name. So I don't think she's always about getting the accolade as much as the art itself.
Yeah, sure. I think that absolutely makes sense to her. And I think that's probably why people like John Cassavetes really could work with her as well, and liked working with her, because she wasn't flashy in that way. And you can tell with this, she's not flashy in her kind of camera movements, but she knows exactly where she wants to put that camera and what she wants to show and what emotion she's grasping with and looking for. And it's raw, it's raw in a way that I don't think a lot of 70s cinema is. Even the rawest cinema in the 70s she's doing it in that different way.
Definitely. I saw this quote about Elaine May by Richard Burton, and it says, Elaine was too formidable, one of the most intelligent, beautiful and witty women I had ever met. I hoped I would never see her again. And I just thought, yeah, she's just too much for. She's too much for that time. I would, you sort of think if she was working nowadays, what she would, I know she still is working, but still making films nowadays.
Maybe you need people like her to trailblaze.
Oh, 100%.
To then follow. Do you know what
I think she's a true 100%. Trailblazer. Yeah, when you look at what she did and how much she was up against a lot of the time, and the fact that I didn't really know about her until I started watching this film, and she's been so important to lots of projects over the years, and she's always had it really hard, and she's been having to push against the system and fight for it, which is I just love her. I love her. After reading up about her and finding out a little bit more about her, and what a woman.
Yeah,
what a lady.
And that's the thing. I think it's like when you talk about like women filmmakers in Hollywood, the story still is this story. It's still having to kind of fight your corner harder than any man has to do it.
Yeah, like
you're not allowed to go over budget. You're not allowed to have like control of your film in that way. You're just meant to be doing the film. Like, like you're not allowed to argue about release dates or something like that, or the way stuff is cut, or you lose your your final cut on things like that. And it's all the same story. Yeah. And she was fighting at that in the 70s. She's fighting for all that in the 70s, and it was difficult. It took her. Each film was a struggle to make those films. It was never just like, here's you an easy script, go and shoot this. Each film was her struggle to go make it, and I really respect her for that.
But yeah, no, I love her. I do love her as well. I think she's wicked.
I probably love her.
Yeah, and you just think like, how have I not known about this woman? She's just crazy. She's so amazing.
I don't think we can overstate Ishtar as like a career death for her. Even though like it's not a bad film, and screw anyone who thinks it's not a bad film. It's not by far not the worst film ever made.
Yeah,
which it's with it's what it gets its kind of credit for, and it was because of that. I think a lot of men have used, like in the Hollywood system, have used that to say women can't make films, especially can't make expensive films. They can't 100%. Do this. And I think they used that against her, and then used it just against women filmmakers as well. And it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. People come back for flops all the time.
Yeah, when you think about even now, how many female directors there are, and how many successful female directors there are, and how many films built by female directors that don't get credited in, in the Academy Awards and different awards, and you just think, why does this serve? Who does this serve? Who does this benefit?
Even, last year, my two favorite films of last year were Little Women and The Farewell, both directed by women. And Little Women got some like nods at the awards seasons and stuff, but The Farewell was just not anywhere, not present, and it was by far. Before? No, it was last year, definitely last year.
The year before.
Because even like the I can't remember her name because it's a Chinese name, and I apologise for that. But the grandma in that film,
do you know what? I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard it's amazing. I need to watch this.
I think you'll love it.
Yeah.
Like even she should have been up for Best Supporting Actress.
Yeah.
That film works because of that actor, and 100%. And I was so annoyed that she got snubbed more than anyone else. I was like, oh come on, people! Like how? And it is this total thing that we were just saying while you're away. Like people use Ishtar against, I think, women filmmakers. They say like, this is how they can't handle a budget like this. And look what we tried it
years
once.
ago.
Yeah. Like, it's almost like we tried it once and they blew it. Like, and it's silly. And I don't know, 51 million, I think the budget was. It went over it, and it only pulled in something like 15 million.
Yeah, but you think about how many men have made films of that budget and lost tons of money. Do you know what I mean?
Constantly, yeah.
And that's fine. That's okay.
It's fine. Yeah,
one woman apparently represents the whole of women. Do you know what I mean? Like,
and it took her like 10 years to even be able to make that film after this one, Mikey and Nicky, and then and then she never got to direct another film ever. Like, And maybe she will. I would love her to come back at 90 years old, do another film.
Yeah,
That'd be amazing.
definitely.
Like,
If Clint Eastwood could be making films and he's
Exactly.
about 110,
Yeah.
I'm sure she can make one.
Definitely.
But like, yeah, even Clint Eastwood is a great example of a guy who has blown so many budgets over the years, and it doesn't matter. Like, it just keeps.
Yeah,
coming
because
back and
every
back and
once in
back
a
and
while
back.
he then releases like, what's that, American Sniper, which somehow became one of the highest grossing films of that year.
You just have to keep letting him do his thing. You get, but then he is allowed to do his thing, isn't he? That's the
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think because he's been in the industry for so long and
Yeah.
he's been with Warner Brothers since day one.
Yeah.
They just kind of will just. He's kind of got a blank check pretty much, and
Yeah.
they'll just offer it to him. But, you know, hopefully things are going to start changing. You've got people like Patty Jenkins and stuff like that who are making millions on... Well, hopefully if anyone ever sees Wonder Woman 2.
Yeah.
And
She's really cool. Yeah, I really liked Wonder Woman. It's very good. And yeah, hopefully things will start to get better. And they are. I just think it's when I saw this film, I was just blown away by it, and I just thought, how has she not been able to do more after this?
I just hope that the women directors in the future, they don't just get given the women films. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, tell another side of the story of a man, but from a female perspective. Or something. Do you know what I mean? Or like, just
Well, that's what this was. Like,
Yeah.
this
I
is
know
such a feminine gaze on masculinity. It really, like, this film would never been made by a man ever.
No.
Like, even like the first scenes were in the hotel room, and you have Peter Falk kind of leaning over John Cassavetes, who's sitting on the floor.
Yeah.
The way the camera was even positioned on both of them was gazy. It was showing kind of like close. It wasn't hiding anything. It wasn't trying to make them look. It was trying to make them look natural. Is what I was trying to say in a way that I think,
100%.
like, I think not. It wasn't trying to make them look tough. It was trying to make them look natural. And I think a lot of this film, if it was shot in a different way, it would be obsessed with how tough they are. And this wasn't. It was obsessed with how fragile they are.
Yeah.
And I think that is her bringing that to it.
Yeah.
And I will say I loved this film. Like, I didn't know, I'd never seen it before, and I absolutely loved it. Like, I
do
just,
you want to
at some
introduce it
point it
properly?
grabbed me. Yes, I do.
So before you properly get into it.
And okay, what are we saying? So yeah, so this week we're covering 1976's Mickey and Nicky.
Peter Falk is Mikey.
I got a terrific suggestion for you, Nick. I suggest you find somebody you can trust.
John Cassavetes is Nicky.
They're gonna kill me, Nick. They're gonna kill me.
Mikey and Nicky. On a night like this, there are no rules.
You give me that in 30 seconds, you hear me, or I'll kill you. I'm gonna die. You're not gonna die.
What do you think they're planning? To shoot you in a movie house?
Mikey and Nicky.
I'm really getting the treatment tonight. Tonight's my night.
On a night like this, there is no trust.
They're gonna kill me. Honey, I'm serious now.
Well, I'm not interested. I'm coming with you.
There is no time.
I know it for a fact they're gonna kill me.
You are not gonna die.
On a night like this, there is no choice. Peter Falk, John Cassavetes, Mikey and Nicky. Written and directed by Elaine May.
Ma, if anything happens to me, Mikey did it.
Yeah, so it's kind of, to give a brief synopsis. Hey there, just before we begin our episode on Elaine May, I wanted to quickly just highlight a cause that we touch upon in today's episode with Natalie. Due to the pandemic, there's been a huge disruption in arts and theatre industry in the UK. From March, all theatres have been closed indefinitely, and there seems to be no real idea when things are going to be able to get back to any relative normal. So I'd really like to take a moment to highlight two charities whose tireless work have been helping to support the theatre business through this difficult time, and, you know, hopefully helping to keep the arts alive in the UK. The first is the Theatre Artists Fund, who provide emergency support for theatre workers and freelancers across the UK. They can be found at theatreartists.fund. That's theatreartists.fund. And there's also the Theatre Support Fund, who are trying to support industry, in particular backstage staff, through this time in London's West End. and they can be found at theatresupportfund.co.uk. That's theatresupportfund.co.uk. If you're able to provide any support, it would mean a lot to those working in the arts at this time. Now on to the show. It's like John Cassavetes is playing a small-time bookie who has stolen a ton of mob money, and he's hiding. And to try and get out of town or try and be safe, he calls his best friend up, who's like a childhood best friend, played by Peter Falk, who kind of to help him evade the hitman that's on his trail, and the hitman's Ned Beatty. That's right. That's the plot, really, isn't it?
I guess so. But at the same time, you know that Peter Falk is in cahoots with the other guys. But is he genuinely trying to help Nicky though, and trying to get him out before the
that's the question.
The assassin gets to them.
I think he goes back and forth.
I do, and that's what's so interesting is that you see him. Well, when I first saw it, I was convincing myself all the way along that he wasn't part of this. I was like, no,
me too.
No, he wouldn't do this to his friend. And that's what's so clever about the film is that she's subtly that just it's so nuanced, their performance and their relationship, that you are always guessing whether. Would he really go through with this? Would he, right up until the end? Like for me, right up.
Yep, absolutely. That last bit is absolutely. He is reminding himself that there was one guy in the world that understands him and knows him this well, and absolutely right to that second. It is heartbreaking.
It's a typical 70s ending though, because as soon as the film the main confrontation ends, the credits, and it's not even subtle. It's just names.
You were just left like, oh, okay. But in a way, that's kind of good because you do, that's, when somebody dies or when somebody's is like that, isn't it? It's just like gone and that's it, done. And the ending, I mean, obviously we'll talk about the ending, but
the thing I liked about it was it didn't hold your hand. It kind of it threw you into this then you're like, what the fuck's going on? Is this guy just paranoid? Is he insane? What's going on with him?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and for. So I watched it a couple of times, and the first time when I saw it, I know, I loved it. But then the first time when I saw it, literally up until about halfway through, I was like, he's just really paranoid. He's just really a liability friend. This is just a friend.
Yeah.
You are pulling your hair out going,
we all have a friend.
We do, right? Everybody has that liability friend. And, up until halfway, really, well, I don't know, I was trying to think, I just couldn't believe that he was, and the way it's shot allows you to not 100% believe it's Mikey or it's, Peter Falk, you in cahoots with them, because the way I'm thinking of when he's waiting for the phone call in the bar, in the first bar. And you see when
he's slowly drinking the beer.
And
John Cassavetes just getting more and more annoyed at him.
But at the time I was just thinking, he's just frustrated with his friend, and he's thinking, you didn't want to, because in my head what I thought was they were meant to be going to the airport and they've stopped off at a bar, and maybe that was Nicky's idea, and so now he's got him to the bar, he's going to finish his beer, and that and obviously that's not, but I just was so much in denial about the whole situation.
But you could say there's the bit later on where he's in the car with the hitman with Ned Beatty, and they're trying to look for him, and he goes, there he is, that's him. Is he trying to just say it's him just for the sake of it, just so it kind of
Is there a bit when they do see him in the alley and he goes, that's definitely not him? And I'm like, that was him. That was him running down the alley as well. I was convinced by that. I will have to rewatch it, but I was convinced there was a point when Peter Falk just misidentifies him as well.
I would say this film could have done with some of the cameras used in Barry Lyndon or...
I thought...
Because it's very dark, very, very dark.
I wrote that there's a clear difference in the cameras they're giving her to shoot this with, or how much she can spend on cameras compared to kind of Barry Lyndon and stuff.
Barry Lyndon, we were talking about last week. They have cameras that use NASA lenses, so they're kind of... you can be in minimal lighting and still get a really rich image out of it, whereas these, you could just tell this
an outline in the dark.
I can imagine shooting this film would be miserable though, because it's all at night, and we all know how horrible night shoots are.
And cold.
Yeah.
Cold,
Yeah.
wet and rainy in a furniture warehouse.
Oh my goodness. I don't think I've ever been as cold in my life.
Oh, we had a
Not to bring it up
We had
again.
a toilet
I
and a
know.
kettle.
Yeah, no. It was great. Glory days. Glory days.
I think like the shooting of this is really worth getting into as well, though, because it absolutely what she did to shoot this film absolutely makes this film what it is, because she wouldn't stop cut. Yeah. So like literally because she's from an improv background, she was obsessed with just getting these two guys to keep improving. So she wouldn't cut on set. She just kept it rolling continuously. And that's why she went over budget. I think it was it was 1.8 million budget, and it grown to need 4.3.
I still don't understand how that can happen.
I know, but honestly, watching this, I'm like, I'd gladly shoot 20 hours of John Cassavetes.
Well, one of the reasons why,
but...
another reason why they don't shoot cut so often is a lot of, well, especially nowadays with modern cameras, they'll keep it rolling, because the moment you say cut, you get hair and makeup will come on set. You get all these people to kind of adjust stuff, and it really slows everything down. Whereas if you keep the cameras rolling, it keeps the momentum going and keeps like the production rolling. But obviously that didn't help because she went over budget. I
think there's a stat somewhere about, I haven't got it written down, that she had more film for this than like Gone with the Wind or something.
Yes, I saw
which
that.
Which is amazing.
That's crazy, isn't it?
There is a story, basically. At one point the scene had ended and both of them had left the set. Both Cassavetes and Falk had walked off. And a new camera operator got really annoyed and yelled "cut," which is obviously not his role to do it. And May immediately just like in a storm was just like "What are you doing?" Keep it running and everything like that, and yelling at him. And they were like, "But they're not even here. They've left the set." And she was like, "Yes, but they might come back." Which apparently that's how she shot it, and you can tell all the dialogue in this feels so fluidy and kind of friendshipy and improv-y. It feels like there wasn't a script, because they obviously got to a point with it when they were just banging stuff back and forth. They knew what they were doing with their characters. They knew how to play these scenes, and I think it makes it funnier. I think this film's really funny because I think the way they react to each other and talk to each other is all from obviously them shooting these scenes over and over again and working on them and bringing beats in and bringing lines in.
I will say though that having that improvisational style to it, I think it kind of affected the editing, because there's a lot of continuity errors that are quite quite blatant, quite glaring. And
the editing itself is interesting as well, because the first film, this was edited by the studio. They took it off her and they released it into 1976 themselves. Paramount cut it themselves. When they were robbing the films, her and her husband at the time,
she keep two reels?
They were hiding reels and stuff from them, so they couldn't take it from them and stuff. It actually ended up with a criminal case, because they were saying they were stealing stuff off Paramount by doing this. But then, basically, Peter Falk loved this film so much that a few years later he took it back to the courts and took it back to Paramount and got property of all the
there's just one more thing.
Yes.
and they ended up cutting it themselves, and then they released it later, which now this is what we've got, is her cut of it.
There's definitely a lot of ADR in it, or at least like loops to dialogue, because there's a lot of times where they're talking and their mouths don't move, or where they're talking and there's no sound coming out of their mouths. There's a lot of that going on.
Yeah, and there's
I don't think it affects the film. I don't think it's just things I
just use stuff you notice and make.
And there's things when like a character has the back to, and they've just
you can tell when they're just static.
There's a movement when you're talking. There's still something, and they're just like, and a line comes out and they're perfectly still. Yeah, no.
Well, there's like a shot at the beginning where Peter Falk's looking at John Cassavetes is looking at a note, and you can tell they've just paused it because the film grain stops as well. Like, do you know what I mean? It, just for me as a filmmaker, you notice when the film grain doesn't even move. That's paused. I can't remember what was on the note. Do you remember what was on? Was it Peter Falk's phone number or something? Or
do you know what? I can't remember.
I can't remember it. I can remember the headline of the paper.
Yeah,
it's about
I think it was the paper. Sorry, I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
That was the screenshot. Sorry.
Yeah, there was. It was about the other guy being killed, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's about the bookies being killed. Yeah, and that's how he knows they've got a hit out on him, I think.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, we should probably start going through. I mean, the film opens with just John Cassavetes in this hotel room. He's calling Mikey, just saying like he's in trouble, and Mikey comes to rescue Nicky from whatever trouble he's in. I just was like, you can feel the kind of alcohol like just coming out of John Cassavetes in this hotel room. You can just like smell it on him. It's like
so believable as this desperate, paranoid person, isn't he?
Yeah.
Just on the edge, and every little cell in his body is pulsating with this anxiety, and he's just brilliant. It's just
he's
fabulous.
Yeah. I think he looks amazing as well. I have to say, I thought he looked absolutely amazing in this film. Like, not to get horny on Maine, as they say, but
a handsome
I like.
Yeah.
I like how monochromatic it looks, apart from like bursts of red from like beer cans or lights on cars and stuff like that. I don't know if you noticed that, but like it's very desaturated kind of visual.
It's not New York, is it? It's Philadelphia. Is that right? I was struggling to know which city it was placed in, but it does feel of its time. It feels 70s. It looks 70s. It does.
Well, the music as well. It's almost got a bit of that kind of music that's a bit like Taking of Pelham, that kind of a bit of funk. I mean, it's not so much in that, like it's not throughout the whole film, but there's definitely little bursts of it. And then later on, you've got Love Train and stuff like that.
Which obviously it was in Last Days of Disco as well. I thought.
Yeah.
But I love that you get that bit where he's chucked stuff down from his hotel room down at Peter Falk on the ground to get him to come upstairs, and Peter Falk's first line when he comes in is, "I came as soon as I got your towel," which really cracked me up. Like, I was on board with it as soon as that was said.
Yeah, he's because you just think, because his first thing is that he's asked him to come there, but where he's asked him to actually meet isn't where he is, and it's only because he drops the bottles with the towel, isn't it, that he actually looks up. And I was like, that's genius. That's so cool that's how they communicate, and that's how they get, and that's how he finds him. And then he goes up to his hotel room, doesn't he, and he won't let him in.
Right, yeah, he just keeps bashing the door. Open the door. Open the door.
Yeah.
And then he's yelling like, look, everyone else in this hotel room is going to come down to this door in a second if you don't open it.
Yeah, but Nicky's... so John Cassavetes is actually like screaming, Mikey, isn't he? He's just like, he's so desperate to know that it's him and that he's
and
there,
only him.
And only him. And it just comes out as this really, really raw kind of desperation. And Mikey's just bashing on the door, and I just thought even at that point we're seeing just how they jump to like violence or aggression really quickly. It's being set up that at that point, even though these two friends, you assume they're two friends, it's already quite an aggressive sort of
they jump to kind of violence in a second. That's how they live their lives, kind of thing. One of my favorite things about it is just how real their friendship felt into it. It like they felt like they'd known each other 30 years. The kind of the bit where he's giving him the pill to help his kind of stomach, and Nicky's yelling at him, going, "What's this? What's this?" And he's like, "It's poison. Have this." Like, I can't do a Peter Falk impression, but
because he says, doesn't he? He says something like, if you tell me to come, I'm gonna bring your medicine. I know what you. He says something that is like, of course I know what you need, and of course I know you've got this stomach problem.
Yeah.
And I'm always going to bring this medicine with me if you're in trouble. Like, it's just, that's knowing somebody inside out and back to front, isn't it? And that's
and they clearly do love and trust each other from that first scene. I think that comes up just in that. I think it's the first 20 minutes are kind of just set in the hotel room, really.
Yeah.
Until they leave, maybe a little less.
Well, yeah, he doesn't leave until he goes out to go and get him a coffee, and I'll be back in 10 minutes.
That is the most intense ordering of coffee that's
when
ever
he jumps
happened.
over the bar and then
it's brilliant. It's so good. It's so good.
It's just an argument about the tiny creams, doesn't it?
What if I buy 20 coffees? Will you give me a load of cream?
Yeah, he literally is like, charge me for 20 coffees and just give me the cream. Like,
why does he jump over and threaten him? Did I miss?
It's because
I think it's because he is literally about to do that, and he realizes how ridiculous this is, that he's having to buy 20 coffees instead of just getting a jug of cream. All he wants is cream, and he won't, that's it. And you see that flip, and he just whacks everything off the side of the counter, doesn't he? He just like clears the counter and jumps over, and it's just brilliant. I love the way.
Well, I've never seen it was because growing up, watching Columbo, and he's always this calm, kind of calculated kind of guy.
Yeah.
And then just because, I haven't seen him in that many films. I've seen him in The Princess Bride, and
he hasn't done that many. Most of his films are John Cassavetes films,
right?
And this really, because he did Columbo for 40 years.
Yeah.
He was doing Columbo at this point, if I'm right.
Yeah.
So he was. He had a day job.
Yeah. So just seeing him aggressive or angry is quite different.
It's great. Yeah.
Although he does wear a trench coat at some point, I think.
He does, doesn't he? And you're like, there we are.
There it is.
Columbo.
Well, that's the bit I love now, when he takes him back to the hotel and he gives him his coffee, and he's like, let's leave or go down the lift or whatever, and John Cassavetes escapes his hotel room like he's like Jason Bourne, when he refuses to take the elevator, and he's just jumping through the stairs and running down, and then they have the argument at the bottom about swapping jackets, and Peter Falk is so just tired of it. He's just like, okay, you can have you want this coat as well? Yeah, you want this,
Yeah.
So I was watching this with headphones on, and some of the sound effects are a bit ropey. They're a bit slapped on.
But I think that bit's really interesting, because it's literally he's asking him to swap clothes with him and basically take a risk of being shot with him.
Being shot, yeah.
But he's kind of testing him, because he's like, well, if you think it's safe, then.
Yeah, but I also, as well as being a test, if it is true and he thinks it's true, then he is saying, run the risk with me, take half of the risk at least with me. And it's almost like they're so close. There's that focus on how close they are and how prepared they are. Almost.
Hey Liam, if ever you're in trouble, I'll wear your jacket.
Oh, guys, you guys are so cute. But yeah, it is and he does it, and they swap the watch for the gun, don't they?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Because he gives him his watch to say, I'll be back in 10 minutes. Doesn't he, with the coffee? And that's one of the reasons he's also getting really tested with the coffee guy, because he knows that if he's not back in 10 minutes, Nicky's likely to kind of just lose it.
Yeah,
of course. And shoot himself or something worse,
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that, actually. But yeah, that adds that other layer of pressure to that interaction with the guy at the coffee shop, doesn't it? And yeah, he's got to get back for his watch as well, which is a really important thing.
Which is a really important watch, which you find out later was a gift from his dad. And he's had it since his younger brother
his dad
died.
Gave it to his younger brother because he knew his younger brother was going to die, so he gave him the watch because he knew he'd get it back. And because they, for some reason, Peter Falk says that he was the favourite child, and it was obvious that he was the favourite child or something like that.
Yeah, it's really sad. It's really complicated stuff. It's kind of like he was basically saying that because his dad didn't cry.
No, his mom didn't cry.
His mom
didn't cry. Yeah, that's right.
Natalie's watched this about 10 times apparently. Natalie knows more of it than we do.
I'm such a swat. I know, but I loved it so much.
I loved it. I just did not know what to expect, and yeah, there was just something about just this kind of conversation about the coats. I'd always been loving it, and then this conversation with coats, it just flipped a switch in my head. I thought they were so funny together, and then so kind of easy, and you can tell that this is probably one of those scenes when the camera was running for 10 hours or something, and just going back and forth, and they were so just comfortable with this how it flowed and speaking over each other and stuff. I was like, I am liking this. I like this a lot. So I like how they relate and work. And again, as you say, seeing Peter Falk do something like this just felt really cool to me. And seeing John Cassavetes, frankly, as well, doing the same thing, just felt so different and cool to me. I don't think I've seen a film that was totally like this.
Brandon just messaged us and said, I caught up with the film last night and it's a weird one. That's Brandon's review.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's a weird one. There are some scenes coming up that I was a bit questionable about.
So this point is the first kind of bit when Ned Beatty comes in and he's got the contract and he's kind of got that map and he's circling where he's meant to go and when to meet them and stuff like that. And you're not sure how he knows what's going on, but he's just got a photo of kind of Nicky and that's it, really.
Yeah, it's left up to like you're wondering how does he know what's happening. And at first I didn't think he was like a mobster or a hitman. I thought he was like maybe a policeman or something.
He doesn't look like one,
he doesn't
So
know.
odd,
He
isn't
looks kind of just a bit normal, really. He doesn't look that tough at all.
Well, I think...
But that's kind of what's really cool about his role, because he's just a normal guy who has this kind of weird job.
Yeah.
Like, his job just happens to be killing people.
Yeah.
And I love the argument he has at the end of the film when he's basically just saying that it's been such a mess that he won't make any money on it. And he's just like...
Isn't that awful?
And he's just like, God,
that's all it is to him.
Yeah, that's all it is to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we're so used to watching like films now where the mobster's like heavy is like so blatantly obvious, whereas he's not an
Kind of
obvious
glorified.
guy. Yeah, but I don't know if you mentioned it. Sorry if I missed it, but he's got the coat hanger. So what's he fashioning with that? What was he going to do with that?
Because at first I just thought, what that tells me is he's in like a hotel, like it's a hotel cheap little hangar and something. And then later on, when you think about it, you're like, oh, what's he making with that? Is that some kind of garroting device? But yeah, it's funny. He doesn't look what we would, which is why you question it, and you question whether it's an actual, if there is a setup going on and what this is about at this point, anyway.
We spoke about that next bit, really, because that's when they hide out in the bar and like Falk is taking his time with his beers.
Yeah.
So I said in the intro, I loved how they had like glasses of milk with them.
Yeah.
I was so confused.
Yeah, because apparently milk helps your. Does he have peritonitis?
Well, was it like an Alan Partridge chaser?
Yeah, like a little milk chaser. That's right.
Yeah, it's true. But I was like, since when has milk and beer been a good combination for your digestive system?
Never.
That's not a thing. But yeah,
that bar was so depressing as well. I've never seen a more depressing looking bar in my life.
Think
it doesn't
bars,
look like at all.
Because it was well lit. It was lit bright, and bars you don't normally see like that. And I think it's like when you go to a nightclub. Nightclubs are great when it's dark. As soon as the lights are come on, you're like, oh, this is depressing.
Yeah, 100%. As soon as those lights go up, we used to always say when we were younger, we'd always leave 5 minutes before.
Yes.
Those lights come up, hideous. Everybody.
Hideous is the worst.
Place looks horrendous. Yeah, that's it. It was a really well lit bar. It was really weird. Yeah. So we were talking about the bit in the bar, and he's shot next to the phone, isn't he? And he had, that's the next shot, isn't it? After you've seen, the hitman, what's his name, Warren.
Yes.
And I still was like, no, he's on the phone to somebody else. I was like, I'm not having this.
I didn't.
Yeah, no.
I wasn't totally on board with.
Well, I thought they were going to be playing with you as a. I mean, I guess they kind of are.
Yeah.
They're playing with you in the fact they're going, no, he's actually talking to someone else.
I thought
as
it was
as a viewer, you're supposed to believe this.
When he glances at the clock as well, and I thought, oh, they're trying to mislead us into thinking he's got something to do. Yeah, with this.
Well, because that's the argument outside right away, isn't it? That he wants Nicky wants to hide at an all-night cinema when they've got like s'mores and popcorn and stuff like that, and they're playing films all night. And there's that line like, "What's the matter? Is my face dirty?" or something? Because like Mickey's just staring right at him.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it is like.
Yeah.
Is that when he says that he wants to phone his wife, and he's like,
that's
what I mean. Like,
who are you
he's like,
bar?
I'm not like you with your wife. I tell her where I'm going to go.
Yeah.
And stuff.
And at this point, I thought, oh, he's really nice. What a nice
I
man.
thought, I was on board.
Fully on board.
The thing is, he kind of is. That's the weird thing about his character. He is kind of like a kind of family man, a little bit, like a more homely 100%. Man anyway. Than he's not nice man particularly, but he's definitely more of a homely man than kind of Nicky's character. And it's weird that the kind of strike it makes when he does lash out in violence even more shocking, because you kind of you get this kind of more loving feeling. You basically watch Mickey all night looking after his friend, like giving him pills, running about the place, getting stressed, how stressed he is, swapping coats, joking and stuff like that, kind of irritating each other. And then when you see him kind of then not be that carer, like lash out in a kind of violent way, it's more shocking, I think.
100%. Yeah.
And then
That's when
so is it? Do they go to that other club then after that?
they go to the disco bar. Yeah.
Yeah,
When
which
he's
is
on the phone then.
Awkward scene.
Yeah, it's a very awkward scene.
Yeah. And because he starts dancing. Well, no, he gets a drink, doesn't he, for this young girl?
For that girl. Yeah.
And
Which I can't quite remember why, but yeah.
But then her husband or fella
Yeah.
goes, well, how much was that? And then he goes, how much it was, and he goes, well, I owe you that because
this is my old lady.
this is my old lady. She's not that old, or whatever. She's
Yeah.
not old.
He's being a right dick.
Oh,
yeah,
he's
being
so-
a
yeah.
Right dick. Like,
And
when
then-
Nicky, because they keep yelling at him that his mate's on the phone,
Yeah.
and I couldn't tell if the people in the club. They're basically, it's like kind of a black disco club, and they basically keep going like, these two white people here, and I thought they thought Mickey might be a cop.
Yes.
That's what I thought. I think that's
so.
what
Okay.
I think they say that.
Yeah, right at
I
the
think they
end,
do.
because I was like, he's been so horrible to everybody. He's insulted everybody. Because doesn't he say something like, they say, "Oh, we might be black, but we're not dumb." One of the guys says that. It's trying to stop the fight, and then he says, "So why are you black?" or something like that.
Yeah.
And I just wrote in my notes, "WTF?" Like, there's what?
Yeah.
What
70s.
was that? What was that? And then, and yet they pull the guy back because it's a really tough, like tall
Big
black
guy,
man, and he's gonna like knock him out. And the other guys are pulling him back because they think he's friends with the policeman. They think.
I think.
Well, they know
I
he's
thought
Columbo.
Yeah, they know Columbo's in the bar. That's
But yeah, so they're so afraid of getting in trouble because at first I wasn't sure if it was just because they thought they were mobsters or if they
or just thought they were tough. Yeah,
they were just tough,
yeah.
or whether it was a white thing because
Yeah.
if you get in trouble with you're always going to get more harshly treated because you're black. But no, they say something and it's quite throwaway, but they say about him being a cop or something.
Yeah, they definitely say at the end of the scene or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
And it's
They
definitely
offered
like,
to buy him
don't start a
drink.
fight. They'll be leaving. He's
They
just
do.
a cop.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, yeah, because they're trying to calm the situation, aren't they? So they're just like,
So yeah, you really think, what a dick at this point. You're like, oh, okay, Nicky is an idiot. And that liability friend, you're just like,
liability friend. Yeah, you can't leave him. I think Peter Falk even says something like, "I can't leave you alone for 5 minutes. I was just making a call," which we find out the call he's making is to the hitman. And no, it's not.
no, he
Isn't it
does. He does
He
call his
calls his
wife.
wife.
He does.
He calls his wife, but I think his wife is talking to the
Yeah.
passing messages on.
Because
or
the way
something.
he
There's
talks
some
on the
chain,
phone-
isn't there?
Yeah, there
Because
is.
the way he talks on the phone is as if it's kind of a bit in code almost, I think.
Yeah, I thought that. Yeah, he's kind of telling him his movements, isn't he, to
Yeah.
his wife, with the kind of knowledge that that's getting passed on elsewhere.
Yeah.
But as a viewer, I was like, oh, he is just telling his wife.
Yeah.
And then I was like,
oh,
but is it more complicated than that? I don't know.
Mm.
This is my favourite bit now, though, when they get on the bus.
Oh, wonderful.
Absolutely
Yeah.
loved this bit. on the bus,
Emmett
like-
Walsh is the bus driver.
Emmett Wolf, I know. Like,
Oh.
that argument, when
he
he
still
starts
looks
smoking.
the same, and he's like 86 now,
It's
and he's
like
still
86
going.
now.
He's still acting.
So good. The bus scene is just so good. I wrote down,
It is.
bus lady is amazing.
She is. She is.
She is the only one to call him out, really.
Yeah, they have the whole film. Yeah.
And the only way he can try to sort of get one up on her, does he actually expose himself? Or it's implied that he does. Am I
I
right?
think it's implied.
Yeah. So we
I
don't
think it's
see
implied,
that,
yeah.
but it's
No.
to this older woman. And she's not fazed by it at all. She's like, that meant to shock
Shit.
me. She doesn't, she's not bothered at all. And I just love her because she's the only one who's just not fazed by him. Out of all the other women in the film, but yeah, great scene.
And I kind of like. I think right now, this is when Peter Falk kind of remembers that that's his best friend.
Yeah.
There's something about that bus conversation when he's really enjoying it again. Or he's really enjoying Nicky.
Well, I don't know if
again,
that's a
like-
bit later on because he tries to give him the money back on this bus journey, doesn't it? $200. There's another bus one later on where they're kind of having a laugh and joke. This they're on the way to the cinema, aren't they?
Yes, that's.
But then he
that's
decides.
No.
then he goes,
This is on the way to the cinema.
No, they're on the way to the cinema. He sees the cemetery. He goes, "My mum's
yeah.
That's
buried
it.
in
He
there."
changes the direction.
And then he
doesn't
wants to get off the bus, but he won't let him
God,
off
it's
the
so
front of
funny.
the bus. He has to get off at the back, but he wants to
He
get
has
off
to get
at
off
the
the
front.
back. Yeah.
So it causes a fight.
the fight, and he goes like,
brilliant.
look, I'm gonna get fired if we fight on the bus. And Nicky goes, okay, let's take this outside then. And the bus driver goes, okay, but we're not leaving through the front door. Which I thought was amazing.
And then he goes, okay, then I'm okay with that.
And yeah, Nicky goes, okay, yeah. Like, so it's
Then
it's
do they
all
leg it?
pointless. Yeah.
And then they leg it.
Yeah, and there's one bit where Mikey goes, when they've literally got him in some sort of headlock, and he's like, Nick, this man is enormous or something. And it's just like, that's the only reason not to do this. The only reason is this is a big guy and, you know, might be difficult.
Not that they're like, because he's smoking on the bus and they're like, you're not allowed to smoke on these things. And he's like, what, you're going to tell my mom or something? He's like, yeah, I'm going to tell your mom. Like, it's like...
Yeah, so such a good scene.
I loved it. And then when they get to cemeteries, I think one of my favourite lines that's ever been in a film is this line. And it tells him that they're still on the bus actually, and they go, we have to go to the cemetery, and they're like, it'll be shut, the gates will be locked, and they're like, since when do we ever use a gate to get into a cemetery? Which I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah, because why would you? Because make things interesting. But I did remember
like, it's so normal.
Yeah, there was one bit that he says on the bus, and I can't remember the exact line, but it was like, we find out that Mikey was with Nicky when his mother died, and he stayed up with her for 2 weeks or something. And it's that again that really is solidifying how long they've known each other and how
Nicky didn't even remember that though.
But I think he probably didn't remember it, maybe because it was so traumatic.
Yeah.
Something I don't know, but that's like that kind of friendship where your friend knows you so well they remember stuff for you. Do you know what I mean? They know that they remember things that even you don't remember.
Yeah, totally.
So they're so close. There's just a good friend.
There's a bit of a gleam in like Peter Falk's eye during this bit. There's something like, which maybe because him and John Cassavetes were enjoying shooting this, but there's definitely a gleam at this point. I was like, that wasn't there earlier. Like I thought that was just started.
Now that's his glass eye. Sorry.
I love that the bit in the cemetery as well. So they're trying to look for his mum.
I like that. We're not going to find it. There it is.
Find it. There's. Well, do you know where she is? Well, I know what she's next to. Some Irishman, and Peter Falk's like,
whole
it's
family.
a Catholic, it's a Catholic cemetery. It's full of Irishmen.
Yeah. So.
And then he's like, and then he's yelling out loud, if anything happens to me tonight, Mickey did it. And then that's when he loses. He goes, fuck you.
He hates that. Because he say earlier on that he doesn't believe in anything. Afterlife, I mean, like.
But yeah, then he starts doing his Jewish kind of like little.
That scene is so funny. When he's trying to talk to his mom, and Mickey's doing that kind of, he's doing his prayer. And Nicky just keeps laughing. The more that he tries to talk to his mom, he laughs louder and laughs harder, and it's just really silly to him. And he goes, I hate talking to dead people because we've got nothing in common or something like.
I mean, he is funny at times, you know, and he has that almost manic laughter, doesn't he, when he was talking about Izzy, the brother? So he keeps laughing. Over
The
story with the brother, and it's a horrendous story about his brother, about Mikey's, I'll get it right eventually. Mikey's brother dying, and he can't stop laughing. But they embrace at the end of that scene, don't they? There's like they do.
Not to jump ahead, but I find it hard that he doesn't tell his wife about that story about his brother.
Yes.
Like she didn't even I guess that's the whole idea, is like that it's so traumatic that only his best friend knows about
that's
this.
That's what I got out of it.
But you still, in real life, you would tell your wife would know.
But do you know what? I just thought that was really interesting because it just shows maybe it's marriages of that type in that mob world.
That's what I was thinking.
The woman is just, the wife is just there as like a, sort of living servant, really. They cook and clean and give you children, but you can have mistresses and you can just disappear for 3 weeks or whatever, because they're in that kind of world where their wives don't really matter that much. And it's shocking that he hasn't told her. It's really weird, but then it just shows you how close that's his person. Nicky is his person that he confides in, and
Well, he kind of even like it definitely shows in this film that women do not matter to these people really at all. They're there, but they don't matter. Like
especially a scene coming up.
Well, exactly, yeah.
Oh, wow.
But he even goes. He's really vulnerable to his wife at his end. He asks really kind of timidly, like, "You like hearing stories about my life, or you like or stuff like my emotions or something like in a way that." He's never said this before. Like, he never tries to be honest with her or anything like that. And it's the only person he's ever been honest with is this guy. This guy who knows everything about him. And I think that was really cool. It was.
Yeah. Very telling. I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? Why the script is so clever, because it tells you so much just with this little conversation between him and his wife. And also, she doesn't remember things, he says, or there's something where...
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
She's almost switched off to it, or that she's stopped listening to him, or there's... I don't know, there's an implication that she just doesn't listen, or she's... I don't know. Maybe she's a bit afraid of him, or I don't know.
I think that's it as well. I think he's a violent guy, and I think there's a lot of violence that we're not seeing between them. And I think
there's a lot that's not seen or said in this film, but you just kind of feel it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the impression you get. You get like, which probably isn't listening because she's scared all the time. She can't listen to your stories about whatever when she's fearful of you. So yeah, that's the impression I got as well.
That, or she doesn't like his stories because they're probably pretty horrible.
All so that, that's
just
true.
Switches off because she doesn't hear the shit that he's done.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, that's when because you got Nicky and he goes to see one of his girls,
one
of his mistresses.
Yeah.
And you have that incredibly awkward sex scene.
Oh, it's
This scene was grotty. This was horrible. I
put horrendous.
Yeah. And
because
you
it's
also
borderline rape, because she says no many times, and he still does it anyway, with Peter Falk in the kitchen in the background of the same shot, and
and you're
like, ugh.
It's so grotty, isn't it? And it's such a like loaded scene. But yeah, just sorry. So it's just so awkward, isn't it? And
we're adults.
I know. I'm clearly not. I'm clearly a big kid. But and it's this thing that she's so vulnerable. She's so lonely. The women in this world are so lonely that if you say to them, "I love you," it's like this magical thing.
Yeah.
They just can't.
Yeah, it's a power word.
Because they are so desperately lonely, and because she's obviously been branded as having a bad reputation or whatever from him, because he's gone around telling everybody that she's easy or whatever, and so she's just all on her own. And then even though she's quite an educated woman and she reads,
she just seems very naive. That's what I got
naive
from and it's
but she's not allowed to be either. Like she's scorned for being easy, let's say. But then when she says she doesn't want to sleep with Peter Falk, then she's scorned for not doing that. So she can't win at all in any of this world.
Not at all. And that's something that I think is really interesting. That it's just, and she's slapped. I mean, obviously she slaps him, I think, first, Peter Falk, when
he bites him
or something. She does something to him either.
She does something.
When he kisses, when he tries to kiss her, I think she bites his lip.
That's it. And then, but then he slaps her, or something happens back, and then, but you sort of think, well, she's just defending herself. Like, you are literally about to assault her, and she is only defending herself. But the way they just don't even think about,
No, the way he hit her, it's like he's like not even a thought passed through his brain. Like it was really shocking to me. Actually,
very shocking.
It was really shocking.
Well, that's the moment. I know you get glimpses of his violence but you think that's the moment that I think you really, this guy's a shit as well.
And that's the bit I was so shocked by it, because I thought up until this point I was like,
he had some morals.
He calls his wife. He's the one that still knows about his son, whereas Nicky doesn't really care about he's still, there's something about him having some sort of family connection, and and then you see that he is actually prepared to go along with this. And again, right up until the last minute, I didn't think he would do that. I really didn't
No,
think he would do
I
that.
didn't.
And
No, I
then
didn't.
you see it and you're like, oh my God, like and I suppose the power of peer pressure and, you know, pride in this world.
Pride, I think, massively pride.
Yeah.
I think that's what this argument coming up is all about as well, because they just get into this argument in the street, and it's all about male insecurity. It's all about this kind of like, you know, you're only my friend when you haven't got your other friends around.
Yeah.
Like you like, which is so vulnerable. But and it's just, it's to the heart of why he's doing this as well, because he feels like that Nicky always scorns him and always always laughs about him and doesn't treat him with respect in public and stuff like that. It's so like it's not petty, but it's so like just fragile.
So fragile.
But it's
to have that fragile word in such a physical way, that the only way they know to solve it, like I think Nicky's trying to fight him, and because he knows that the way to solve this is to punch each other. Because Mickey won't fight him, that it's even more confusing to him. Because it's like it's more vulnerable, it hurts more because they won't just punch each other.
And because normally the trope is that when two friends fight in a film, they have the fight, they're tired after it, and then they kind of make up afterwards. Whereas they don't
have a hug and a beer, and it's all fine.
A bit like after an argument, makeup sex with a couple. It's like a makeup fight for friends, you know, and it's that, you know, and and the fact he just keeps walking, he won't engage with him, and I think it's such an interesting bit where Mickey just keeps walking, and that is, you can see it, like Nicky starts to panic, like he descends into this like panicked state of you know, what do I do if he won't even engage with me on a fight, he won't even talk to me on the, you know, I
can't fix this, I don't have any skills to fix this.
It's really powerful, that bit.
So Ned Beatty's been outside the cinema for ages because of that. Because Peter Falk's been trying to get him to go to the cinema, hasn't he, since the bus, I guess. And then he's calling the bosses, I guess, and saying that they haven't shown up. And he goes, well, have you been inside? And he's like, well, no. And then Peter Falk then turns up at the car.
And
then,
so this is kind of that reveal. For me, it was a reveal that he's definitely working with him. There was still something that was like, he's not going to do this.
I was like, no, he's trying to throw them off. Like, denial. But it is a little bit more like you think, oh, maybe he is actually in on this, because they'd had this big fight beforehand as well, which with the watch, which was really significant as well. And
because the watch smashes.
He's like, look, there's the hand.
But even now, I was still kind of like, I was telling him to go the wrong way, not to find him, or he's doing something to kind of put him off the scent. I was still, and I still kind of think.
Well, I think he was just having a conflict within himself. So it was a bit.
I think he wanted to be kind of passively involved. Like he wanted to kind of passively lead his friend into this, not actively do it. He wanted to kind of tell them where his friend's going to be, but not kind of force it to happen.
So kind of get Nicky to make his own choices, but somehow
make Nicky fall into it, kind of. And I think there was a hope,
so he could wash his hands a little bit of it.
That's you know what? That's exactly it. I think that's right. I really.
And then at the end of the film, he's just basically hoping that his friend's not going to turn up at his house, just begging he's not going to turn up, because if he doesn't turn up, he won't have to do anything. And then when he does turn up, he can't let him in the house. And that's that final moment where he decides to make sure that he can't get in the house. And it's the only moment when he really does something that's like positive, or like actively trying to stop him. Like, and I think it's that last.
To be honest, it's probably better if he did get him in the house, because then he wouldn't have gotten shot by Ned Beatty. But anyway.
No, that's what I mean. I think it's not until that point then he does anything that causes his death. Everything is like passive, and it's not until that bit where he actually has to do something to make.
And there is there's a shot where Mickey has got his head up against the door, and Nicky's banging on the door, and you just, before he barricades it, and it's that, like, he's like, oh my God, I'm going to have to make this choice. And
I now need to make this choice.
He actually does go through with it, and it's heartbreaking.
So anyway, just to backtrack, so then Peter Falk goes to like the mob boss's house, doesn't he? And you kind of get an inkling that nobody kind of likes him. He's obviously, for some reason, obviously there's something about him that people don't like.
Yeah,
Whereas
and
we kind of see a different side of him in the film where, well, obviously we see the bad side of him, but we kind of see some decent side of him as well. I don't know.
yeah, and he says,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's a very conflicting film, like how you feel about people.
Oh, 100%. And I like that about it because nobody's 100% good or bad or, yeah.
I think they're mostly shits. But,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
are.
But there's still qualities in, I don't know, there's something about them. It's very interesting. But he says to the boss, I'm sorry I make you nervous, which I thought was really
Yeah, that's
He
what I was
keeps
wondering.
trying, yeah.
Is it because they know he's a bit
him.
irrational and that he can occasionally burst out into...
maybe.
Well, it's what Nicky yells at him in that argument in the street is you make Rubens, the mob boss, or whatever his name was again, you make him nervous, and that's why he doesn't like you. And that's obviously hanging on him up until this point. Like, he knows it, and like that's why he knows he has to kind of go through with this, like, hit or like make it happen, because otherwise he will just be killed. He'll be out. He won't be, the mob boss will have no use for him. But if he can show that he's helped this happen and got rid of Nicky, then he's secure in that world. But it does all that without kind of telling you that. But I think that's what the film's doing.
Go back to the blonde lady's house. I can't remember apartment. He goes back to her.
I think he goes back to his wife, and
Yes.
and his first time he's seen his wife for ages. Then I think he's just desperate to find someone who will go out their way to help him, and
Just
no
help
one will.
him, because his wife goes, well, why don't you phone
Phone your girlfriend.
Phone Mickey.
Phone Mickey,
yeah. And
He's like, done that, tried it.
And I also remember there was something about with the wife. He's so manipulative that she ends up like almost apologizing to him.
Yeah.
Did you see that? And it was like, he says
yeah.
something like, "What do you want me to do? Die for you?" Like, and she still ends up saying, "I love you" to him. Like, he's so good at manipulating.
Well, he does it to the other girl as well, doesn't he? Really, he kind of gets people around his fingers.
He manipulates everyone. He manipulates Mickey all the way through the film as well. Really,
he does.
Like. And even when he's like, they're being really honest with each other, it doesn't seem that honest. It's like there's still some.
Well, I guess they're both manipulating each other, though. Really,
they are. Yeah, absolutely.
And then he goes back to the girlfriend's house. I guess Nell is, I think her name.
Nell.
Yeah, and
her only acting role, actually.
Really?
Great. Yeah, the only film she's ever been in.
Yeah, I mean,
I think what's her name? Carol Grace, I think.
She's good. I think she's really good in it.
She is.
Like, but anyway, yeah. So she says to him, "Don't be mad at me about," because she tells him that the other guys told her. So it's a bit that he'd gone around saying she was easy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
So the other blokes that have tried it on with her, she knows it was him that set them up to it, and she tells her. She tells him. She tells Nicky. And then she's like, "Oh, please don't be mad at me for telling you." And you're like, "Really? Wow." Stop
apologizing.
This is how scared she is, though, isn't it? And it's such a shame for her. You feel so sorry for her. But then he says something like, "I don't know what's wrong with me," which I thought, so he is acknowledging there is a problem. He knows he's got a problem. Like, obviously, he's pushed away his most dear friend, so he knows that there's something.
He knows that he's got nothing left. He knows that there's nowhere else to go. Like, and so he ends up back at Mickey's house, and he dies just like banging on Mickey's door. That's the end.
Oh, it's
Mikey. God,
Mikey. I know it's so hard, isn't it? Yeah. Mikey's door, but yeah, I thought it was really interesting at the end, where Peter Falk. It's really obviously the last bit is where it's on his face, isn't it? And as he's being shot, and he says, "Oh, would you look at that?" Because he doesn't cry either. And I thought it was a real close link back to when he was saying, "Well, my mum didn't die. My mum didn't cry," and that was like an indictment against his mum. Like he had.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
For not crying when his brother died.
And absolutely.
When his friend dies, and he's clearly upset about it, but he doesn't cry, and it's like that. Oh, okay, that's what it meant to me anyway. That's what I gleaned from it.
I think you're right.
But
Oh, I loved it. I love this film.
So good.
I absolutely loved it.
I wouldn't say I loved it. I liked it a lot.
Sure.
There's me just a lot of. I shouldn't let the technical issues bug me, but just a few little niggling things, and I think I don't know what I was going to go with that. I'll delete that.
No, but no, you're right. I think, the thing is, you see a lot more of the technical side of things than I would, for example. Like, I don't really pay that much attention to these things.
But as far as performances go, it was fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
But it was just solid for me. And, and it's just a pleasure to watch two very good actors act in something that's kind of a very dialogue heavy, but not in a pretentious way.
No.
Definitely.
And I think that's where the naturalism comes through from the ad-libbing and stuff like that.
Just after watching, we've watched so many films so far at the 70s that it's about like flawed men in certain ways, and there was something about the portrayal of them in this that was just the filmmaker was more obsessed with like how they scheme and how they're controlled by their kind of greed or their goals or their kind of their lust or whatever, how they're kind of, and it just painted them as such profoundly kind of flawed that on some, it was like I don't know, it was a better exploration of masculinity than I think the other films about exploration of masculinity have been.
The rest are all made by men, and this is someone looking out from the outside in, seeing, what,
and really being able to show it because they're not inside it, I suppose.
Yeah. And it just felt so squirmy and then so kind of purely kind of heartbreaking in the same way. It was just, I don't know, it really sang to me. I could sink into this film really easily. So.
Yeah, me
so
too.
What would you give it out of 5 then?
I'd be there 4.5 easy. 5. I think 4.5 is easy because, as you say, the some technical things, but I'm there 4.5, 5 easy.
I'd give it a 4. You're a 5 then, Nat.
I am a 5, but I know what you're saying about the technical side, so maybe 4.75.
but to be honest, things like that shouldn't really affect a film if it's working on all the other cylinders. So, but
that's but I just think for me, I just really enjoyed it, and for all the reasons we've said, like the way it. Because I think it's the sort of thing that I've always thought about with a lot of these films, like about the way the masculine role is portrayed in these like mobster films and things like that, which I have always really enjoyed, I have to say. But it just was so interesting to look at it from that other lens, and it's so ahead of its time. Like we talk about toxic masculinity today.
No.
Like it's a big topic now, and we're really aware of it. And I think men nowadays are really making the effort to think about that and obviously have come a long way in that, but this was so long ago and she was so ahead of the game with this.
Also, it's a mobster film where you don't really see much of the mobstering.
It's not glorified. It's not like it's not aspirational.
It's not like a Martin Scorsese where you see the minutiae of being a mobster and like
no. It's just hard. It's so funny. It's not funny is the wrong word, baby. But someone who is known as someone coming up in improv comedy, and then a female filmmaker deciding to make this, which is, I mean, I think it's funny, has that improv beats to it and stuff. But like, it's definitely, you can see why the studio, I think, will put their backs up, because she made a film that I think most people say wasn't hers to make in the 70s. I think a lot of producers would think that, and I probably made it. Like, I don't know. She seems fantastic, and she'll do whatever the hell she wanted to do, and she put her hands to it. And I was just really happy watching this.
Yeah, definitely. I was inspired by her, I have to say, when I started reading about her, and when I watched this, I was like, wow, this lady's amazing. So.
Well, Natalie, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for talking. And please, we'll welcome you back anytime.
Oh, thanks so much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Is there anything you'd like to kind of plug or follow or anything like that on Twitter or anything like?
I'm just trying to think if just obviously Save the Arts and about theatre. There's a lot of like theatre charities and things that are out there at the minute. So just to look out for those. And
just look out for those, absolutely.
Yeah, so we can get it open as soon as we can.
Please.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about next week then, Liam?
It is William Friedkin's Sorcerer. That's what we're doing next week.
I'm really looking forward to watching this.
Yeah, he's follow-up to Exorcist.
And we have another guest, I believe.
I believe we should be having another guest. I don't know if he's confirmed, but we should. Paul Naden should be back on the show talking about Sorcerer. So that should be really fun.
Awesome.
I've wanted to watch Sorcerer for years, so I'm going to really look forward to that.
Features no sorcerers, though.
No, it doesn't. The title is completely the bad title, but...
Right, again, thanks, Nat, for coming on, and I'll see you on Monday.
Yeah, see you on Monday. Can't wait.
All right, so thanks everyone for listening, and please, if you do enjoy this podcast, please rate, review, and subscribe. And remember, you can always find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher. We're all over the shop. We're on Twitter at adjust your track. That's a YR, not a your. And remember, if the picture's bad, always adjust your tracking.